And this is Paul Bunting, and I'm here with Charity Hobbs and Harmon Hathaway from the American Yoga Foundation. And I have a question directed for Harmon. Harmon, perhaps you could explain the system of body work that I find very unique that you've created, the ABCs of alignment, or explain perhaps alignment yoga in a way that people that are interested can understand.
Okay. Well, let's start with, in the brief time that I'm going to explain it, we'll start with the ABCs of alignment. The arches, the breath, and the cervical vertebrae, the chin, the collarbone. Okay, that's the C. Generally, when I introduce alignment to a person, which is to the physical form, the first thing we work with is examining their arches and seeing what's going on with their relationship to the floor. In observing structure, this is very important to correct. If a person's got a particular physical problem and they're of late age or older, I might just create some relief for that problem. But eventually, the reason that the problem is there is generally because the structure itself has been out of line. So we start with the arches. The arch is an arch and should be an arch, as the term suggests. And by walking on the outside of the foot, having the arch, and the pads touch in the feet as you walk, it causes a rotation, a natural rotation in the leg, where the knee is not stressed, and if it's relaxed, all right, people have a tendency to lock their legs when they're standing, and or to stand on one leg or the other. And this is from cultural conditioning. And we all know what stand still sounds like. Why are you moving so much? Etc., etc., you say. So people lock their legs. And that in turn starts problems. And they may show up 20 years later, you know, and that the body itself is very strong and can handle a poor alignment for a certain amount of time, and then it starts to break down. And it could be even 30 years later or 40 years later, but it shows up as a problem.
Yeah. I just got a quick question. I mean, I studying with you a few years ago and really learning and applying the techniques myself and really experiencing a lot of changes as a result of that in a very positive way. Maybe you could explain about Jamie, who had scoliosis, and kind of explain how that worked, because seeing the before and after, I, kind of thought that the after, when I met Jamie, I thought, there's no way that this guy could have ever been, seriously crippled at one point in time. I mean, He was a guy that was in his 30s and he looked fine. And then I see the video of him walking in, and it seemed like he was a hunchback of Notre Dame or something. Yes. So maybe you could explain how alignment works.
That's a good example of handling the problem first, where this is a man who had scoliosis and was in pain probably for 6-7 years, severe pain, and had tried everything. And when he came in the door with his crutch, leaning over, almost skeptical about who is this guy and what's he going to do for me, Uh, but and he started to explain his thing, and I saw his problem. So I just laid him down and started him to feel his breath, to create expansion, because part of the pain in the spine was the contraction that he was kind of locked into, and he had no way of expanding this area open. So introducing him to breathing created some expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept his breathing going for 45 minutes or so, and then we slowly started to work with his legs, opening them, and for him to relax muscle in his legs.
Before we go on, just a real quick thing I kind of want to make a statement about or point out. On your website, alignment.org, you have a section where there's videos that people can download.
Yes.
The actual movements that you took Jamie through, were those the movements that are similar to the ones on the videos, or the ones that are on the videos that helped him get to a point?
There's a video on releasing the upper and lower body,
mm-hmm.
and releasing the legs was part of releasing the back, coupled with breathing, where the long muscles that come from the lower spine through the buttocks into the leg, the major groups there were releasing, plus some of the internal and smaller muscles, just through the simple use of that releasing exercise. And it's actually something that's I primarily use for releasing the body, and it can be done in several positions. So that's one of the things. The other was releasing also the upper body. So the releasing video is really important for people to experience releasing their body. And it's not complicated. It's very simple to do, as I've illustrated on those tapes. And then couple that with the breathing tape, learning something about your breath. The interesting thing about having those basic tools is that you will intuit what to do.
Mm-hmm.
That it's your body. Each body is somewhat different, has different requirements, and as opposed to a room full of people doing a yoga pose, everything is really designed for you to discover your own body and find out what it needs
mm-hmm.
to work with and what releases it, etc. Once you do that, anything else you do, you have kind of a basis for feeling and understanding the other things. So like you can conceivably get into a weight training program after having released the body and done some breathing, where you're actually enjoying it, and it's not as much of a chore as somebody who's just doing that, you say.
Yeah.